Our next incredible speaker is Mr. Rami Baron, CEO and founder of Q-Report Jewellery Insurance. Rami has been an influential person in building communities and working with large-scale industry bodies all over the world. Rami now brings with him additional global support, collaborating with Jewellers Mutual, one of the world's most significant specialised jewellers insurance companies. A warm welcome to Rami and his colleague, Joseph.
The beautiful part is I know so many faces here, and it's great to see some people I haven't seen for ages, some I see more regularly, and obviously, or not obviously, some of you are familiar with Q-Report. We're very strong supporters of this interaction and the show, and some of you might have been to the last couple of years where I spoke about AI previously. Can I have a show of hands? Who was that? Was any of you? Yeah, a couple of people. Good. Okay, so a number of years ago, I was fortunate enough to be invited by Harvard to come to a 4-day seminar in Boston and just hear about AI, how it was suddenly coming to the world more than just programmers. And I was so blown away. I went at the next trade show and I started to speak about, are you guys aware of AI? And everyone's like, no, not really. And each year I've tried to do an update. So this is the third update, pretty much. First of all, Joe is on stage with me because Joe is a techie that I've worked with for the last 25 years. We're going to do a bit of a combination. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that interests me and maybe a bit of a business twist on it. And Joe will talk a little bit more technically. And I do this a little differently. Like, I will reach out to you guys now in the audience. That's part of what I do. It's not just me talking to you. We're talking at you, God forbid. Okay, so you can interrupt me anytime. Seriously, just jump in. Okay, so straight to it. First question. Who uses AI right now, today? Okay, not everybody. Second question, who uses AI every single day? Right, we actually had about half of that. All right, really interesting. And I asked that question to see how au fait you are and how familiar you are. I just want to throw some numbers at you. Not to scare you, although they do scare me sometimes when I try and extrapolate them, they're thrown at me, but just to give you a sense of what's happening and the speed that it's happening. And we're going to show you some more numbers there, but I want to set the tone. And the tone that I want to set to you is this. AI is moving at an insane pace, okay? Much faster than anything we have ever dealt with, and we'll touch on it. But I do want to say to you something that's really important. Don't freak out. Why? On one hand, he says it's moving at an insane pace, then he's telling me don't freak out. Why? I'll tell you why. Because humans cannot catch up with how fast AI is moving. And what I mean by that is we don't adapt as quickly as AI is coming. So therefore, it will take a little bit longer than everyone's scaring the hell out of us about for everything to suddenly become part of everyday life. We just can't cope. You know the stat, they reckon that AI can do 50% of all the work of humans today. Here's a crazy number. Who knows the term zettabyte? Anyone? I didn't know it until I just came back from America to a conference. Zettabyte. Okay. Terabyte, everybody knows a terabyte. Okay, here is what a zettabyte is. This is the analogy. If a terabyte is 1 kilometer, okay, I have to give you something that you can visualize, then a zettabyte is, let me get it right, 130 times travel to the moon and back, 130 times. That is a zettabyte. What does that mean? There are 200 zettabytes worth of information on the internet today. and AI is accessing all of it. AI has read everything that is ever written on the internet. Do you know how many books there are in the world? Ballpark, 40 billion. Guess what? There's 40 billion new bits of information created on the internet every day. Insane numbers. Okay, so let's move into what we're going to talk about. I'm going to move quicker on some things, slower on the others. I'm going to throw one question. No, I'm just going to throw one quick story for you. And the reason why I'm going to tell you this story is because it happened to me personally. Well, my son, actually. And I want you to contemplate what I'm suggesting to you. So my son is 20 years old, he works for a consultancy, and he had to give a presentation to 9 directors in the company. Okay? He had to do a PowerPoint presentation, 9 people, but he says, these people are so different, some are nightmares. I'm like challenged. So I'll tell you what he did. He wrote out 9 personas. Okay? Rami Baron, 60 years old, jewellery, likes this, likes a dog, likes swimming, likes boats, 9 personas, different personas of the 9 people who he was going to speak to. Then he built his PowerPoint presentation. And then he did something that I would never have thought of doing. And what was it? He went to AI, and he said to AI, you are the CEO of this company, this is what this company does, look at the website, read it all up, you are the CEO, I want you to ask me questions. No, me ask you. You ask me questions while I give this PowerPoint presentation, and I want you to be, as you ask questions, one of the personas, just keep moving through the different personas of all the people in the room. Needless to say, you can appreciate that he gave an incredible presentation because he spoke to everybody there. Things that he never thought of. In fact, we reached a point where we had to say to AI, stop, your questions are too hard. Okay? I thought that was only someone much younger in my world could think of something like that, to even think. Okay, so let's begin. We want you to leave here knowing, well, let's just show quickly 4 things. Okay? Where is AI today? How is your business affected by the changes in AI when it comes to searches? In other words, you're online, how does it look at you now? Because that has changed, and a lot of what people spoke about today is really relevant, but this, Joe will actually drill a little bit deeper, and by all means, just interrupt the different sections. What is agentic AI? Who's familiar with that term? Got 1 or 2. Okay. Whoa. This is scary stuff, okay? Good scary, I hope. And how can I use AI today? And Joe's going to show you some just a couple of simple little things that you can do that he did and we'll share as well. Okay? So, where is AI today? In 2017, they started the transformers, and what the GPT terminology started. Joe, definition?
It means generative pre-trained transformer, and it was created by Google researchers in 2017. And from that, all LLMs, which is what you're talking to if you're using AI today, that's basically what they're based on.
LLMs. So I'm going to do a micro AI jump for you. We started in AI with machine learning. What is machine learning? Basically, we gave it things to look at, and we said, do you know what you're looking at? The best example is cats. Google had millions and billions of pictures of cats in pictures, and it asked the machine to identify where the cats were. And then humans stepped in and corrected it. Okay? That was machine learning. The big shift, which is what we're talking about, LLM, and a lot of people threw that around, was large language model. That is when AI started to develop an ability to communicate with us like we talk. The third phase is agentic, and I'll talk about it a bit further.
Okay, so in 2018, they released a model of GPT-1, which had 117 million parameters. Imagine like parameters are things that the AI's brain can kind of keep in its attention span, I guess you could say. So it's trained on these things. So in 2019, they released GPT-2, which jumped to 1.5 billion. So it was suddenly a whole lot more that it could process. In 2020, we jumped to 175 billion with the release of GPT-3. And now suddenly, when you communicated this thing, it could almost fool you that you were talking to a human. And things started to change. Now, in 2022, at the very end, the 30th of November, it's an interesting date because they released ChatGPT. Now suddenly, before this, you really had to be a scientist, a developer, a programmer. To be able to access these GPTs, you had to write software and then you could talk to it. But suddenly what OpenAI did is they released this ChatGPT on the internet. And people, for the first time ever, anybody in the world who signed up, was able to actually talk to an AI. And in 5 days, they had 1 million users. Within 2 months, ChatGPT had 100 million users, which is literally the fastest adoption rate that has ever been recorded. This is like any technology. So you think the internet didn't even come close. TikTok is the closest, and it took 8 months to get 100 million users. And before that, it was Instagram with about 2.5 years. So, Rami, where is AI today?
To the room, what do you use in AI? Throw me some names. ChatGPT. Who uses ChatGPT? The majority of the room. All right. Other ones? Perplexity. Who said perplexity? Perplexity. Okay. Who else? Anyone else? Sorry? Well, Canva is a whole suite of software, but they have AI built into it. Any others? Claude? Right? Grok? Leonardo? Great. Okay, so we see a bit of a variety, but most talk about ChatGPT. 800 million users. Okay, by far the most popular. Right? Gemini. Gemini is with Google, so if you're using Google, there's Gemini AI in there, right? And Joe will talk about that, particularly relevant about searching, okay? Particularly good if you want to do things in your Google Docs and, in that sort of space, okay? We'll explain that a bit further as well. Very good with image and videos and stuff like that. Next, Grok, 20 to 30 million people using it. Elon Musk's baby, right? By the way, he was part of the original AI, OpenAI, with that guy Sam Altman, you probably read about, and then they broke apart. Okay? He wanted to make it more commercial. Sam wanted to make it safer until Google told him, maybe not, maybe we make it more commercial. And that's probably the scariest thing about AI today, right? Where is the safety switch? It's almost impossible to have one. Probably I listened to a professor speak about AI security. The wishful thinking is, how do we slow it down? But there's no stopping. I mean, and there's so many positive sides to it, but this is the scariest part. Claude, great safety measures, large context, really good at writing stuff as well. Perplexity, you see a little comment down the bottom, Rami's favorite. The reason why is, when I was at Harvard, they said to me, you should be using Perplexity. Why is Perplexity so cool? It first was particularly cool because whenever it looked for information for you, it gave you a little number down the bottom. I think ChatGPT is doing that now as well, which tells you where it sourced the information. So if I said, Q-Report's the best jewelry insurance company in the world, right? Or what is the best jewelry insurance company? And it said, oh, Q-Report, then you click on it, and if Q-Report said it, right? But if someone else said it, well, that's valuable, right? So you want to look at where the information is coming from. And a lot of the sites are doing that.
So the other benefit of Perplexity being that they don't actually have an AI of their own. So they are not actually someone like OpenAI who produces an LLM. What they are is they're like a Swiss Army knife. So through Perplexity, you can just type in a query or a prompt, and it will then automatically pick which LLM it thinks would be the best to answer that prompt. Or you can choose. So through Perplexity, you can say, I want to use Claude for this, or I want to use ChatGPT. And so it kind of, with one subscription, it kind of like it gives you a subscription to all of them. So it's very beneficial in that regard.
Matilda. Anyone heard of Matilda? Because it's not up yet. It's the one that they're building in Australia because they want everything to sit within Australia. That's particularly relevant to companies like Q-Report, okay, because any insurance data we actually have to keep within Australia. So when we use Amazon Web Services and storage, they have to guarantee us, which they do in writing and all that, that the servers and the mainframes are all sitting in Australia, right? But there's also this whole thing about, having your data in Australia and being Australia's second. Okay, yes?
So are you saying that Matilda is kind of safeguarded then?
Well, it's not out yet, but that's its aim.
Yeah,
It's very much, you're only going to have it as an Australian tool. I wouldn't say it will be restricted to Australia, but...
No, probably not. So there's a guy called Ed Craven who they're doing it in Melbourne. I guess the benefits of it is that it's done by Australians with an Australian-centric mindset. So there might be a bunch of good day mates when it opens up, that kind of thing. But it's also more that thing of, apart from the sovereign, what they call data sovereignty, sounds very official, which is basically, that means it's hosted in Australia. The fact that it's independent means that, for example, with all the stuff that's happening in America right now, you can imagine that certain people can pull certain levers and do all kinds of things. And so if your whole business, or if your automations, the way you use certain things is based on these American platforms, and depending on what happens in the next few years, that could get further away from what we want, you can imagine that suddenly the voice and the tone that it uses are not what you would like to have. And so if we have one that's Australian-based, then it's going to definitely be better for us. So that's basically it.
If Perplexity kind of sits at the top and chooses from the different LLMs, why would you use anything else?
Very good question, Dave. Basically, you don't get advanced, so for example, ChatGPT has a whole bunch of features, things like memory, what they call projects, and different things like that, they've got a scheduler, they've got a task scheduler. So something you guys might like to do is you could say, every day I want you to check for the gold price and tell me if it's gone up by 5%. And it'll just go, oh, okay, cool, no worries. And every day it will do that for you automatically. Perplexity doesn't have those like ChatGPT specific features built into it. You can access its like core LLM, but not those extra things that they've built on top to be their differentiating factor. So one of the questions I get asked the most is, what's the best? Which is kind of like your question, Dave. Look, this really depends on your specific, everyone is different. So there's no one size fits all. ChatGPT has a lot of features, a lot of extras built on top. Perplexity allows you to access all these different ones, has great references, has this new tool called Comet, which is fantastic, and getting access to that is quite cool, but you have to be a paid member to do it. The other question that I get asked by Rami is like, well, why do people pay when it's free? And there's all these different levels of, you can $20 a month, $200 a month, thousands of dollars a month. That again is going to depend on what your use case is. But my comment would be is that very commonly people want to you start to do more and more things with it. So one of the easiest ways is go into whatever ChatGPT or LLM of your choice and actually ask it, I would like to do this, or why should I pay for your features? And it will tell you. And the reality that I can't give you an answer is that every week, every month, there are new updates coming out. So Grok 4 released about a month and a half ago. Then ChatGPT brought out ChatGPT 5. So there are new things coming out all the time. And the old features end up shuffling down to the free version and suddenly the new features. So it really comes down to, at the time that you are thinking about that, you can just ask the ChatGPT and it'll actually be able to give you the best response, rather than me trying to tell you without knowing your specific.
I want to add something to that, and that is your free version at this point in time, but everything will change because it doesn't, when you're making certain queries, doesn't give you the latest data. It will often look at something that's maybe a few years old and won't come forward. Have you guys heard the word, by the way, hallucinations? Do you all know what it means? Yes, no, some people froze it with me. No, okay, can I share with you? Right, the word hallucinations, whoa, it's a bit like that. AI, in the early stage, it still does it, but not to the same extent. It does it sometimes a bit more in video stuff. When it doesn't know something, it makes it up. The most common case was a court case where a solicitor brought a case to the judge and they looked it up and they said this case doesn't exist. And it was like, this AI just created it. Okay? Where you see it in videos, right, when you create video content, is sometimes a person has 6 fingers, not 5. Or you look at them and say, their arm isn't really like this, why is it doing some abnormal action? But it's getting better and better and better. So why is that referencing so important? Because what if it's creating a hallucination? You know, in some of the previous lectures, we're talking about check your information. Don't accept it outright. And remember, AI is very dealing with your sycophantic nature. It's giving you what you want. It's telling you how good you are. Gee, you're smart. Wow, what a great question, right? Stop and be aware you're talking to a computer, and I have friends who've been using this as a psychologist, and they say, oh, why should I pay for a psychologist now? It's brilliant what it's telling me. It's also telling me I'm right, everyone else is wrong. So it's not right. Okay, so why should you pay for it? Joe gave you the best answer. Ask it. Just ask it. Right? It's like, that's how it's built. All right.
So, Rami, if you're saying that if that lawyer is flexible,
Yep.
it wouldn't have been able to do the
Correct.
cases because the case didn't exist.
Correct. Correct.
Then he would have known.
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify, yes, yes, indeed.
Trust but verify. Can't emphasize that one enough.
Okay, so many of you probably have websites. Show of hands, who's got a website? Does everyone know what the core reason for your website is, apart from hopefully sell thousands of really expensive engagement rings with 0 effort on my behalf? That would be perfect. As a web designer and someone who's built lots of sites for jewelers, that's not how it works. Basically, your website there is to create a relationship, to build trust. Nick talked about this earlier, and so did Bart. You know, it's that thing of touch points, you know, building trust with your customers, with the people on your buyer's journey. Now, traditionally, what does that mean? That means that you do blogs, you do articles, you do educational content, because what that meant is that people then did a search on Google. What kind of engagement ring should I buy? And they would then come. So that's the buyer's journey. That's the first stage, which we all know as awareness. I'm aware that I have something that I want, or I have a problem, I'm looking for a solution. So in this lovely one, we've got Sarah notices that her best friend's birthday is coming up. She decides she wants to buy her some jewellery. Cool. So this is the top of the funnel, what everyone would talk about. The next stage is consideration. So Sarah suddenly starts to narrow down what she wants to do. And traditionally, she would have done this by doing a Google search. Searching on the internet. Oh, what kind of jewellery? Oh, what kind of jewellery might a 25-year-old girl who likes these kind of things like? You know, what kind of a ring does Taylor Swift get? That kind of question, right? And so people would post articles because what it meant is that hopefully you'd have good SEO, good content, and someone where you'd get in those top few blue links on Google, and then someone would click, they'd get to your website. And every time they did that, you were established as an authority. You get a touch point with your customer through their buyer's journey. And so by the time it comes, when they actually want to buy something, suddenly they're like, oh, you know what? I've been to their website and they know what they're talking about. So that's where I'm going to go. That's what, so if you don't have that, then where are you left? Maybe it's your Google reviews, how well you've done on Google reviews, and your price, because that's the final stage, which is the decision. Where am I actually going to buy and where am I going to buy it? So at this stage, someone's done a bunch of searching. They know that they want to buy a necklace for their friend. And so they've kind of got an idea about that. They do a search for that and they come up with 5 different products and they start to compare them. And how do you compete if you're only comparing, as Bart talked about, on price and trust, which in theory, the Google reviews are an indicator of that. And so without that, it makes it very tricky. Now this has changed because who has seen an AI overview come up when they've done a Google search? Okay?
Can I stop you for a second?
Yep.
Who is aware of what an AI overview is? Okay, so half the group.
Okay, so an AI overview is basically just Google using their AI to kind of get you an answer. Now, this benefited us a great deal back in the day when you was like, what's the 100 US dollars in Australian dollars? And Google just like, here's the answer. I don't have to go to some currency exchange website. That's fantastic for us, right? Not so fantastic for the guy whose whole business was selling ad space on his currency converter website because boom, Google just took his whole business. Flights, exchange rates, gold prices, these are all things that have now just become commodity data that Google could access. Guess what? All those blogs, all those articles, all that educational content you've created, Google have trained Gemini now. And instead of sending them to your website, it now creates an AI overview. And what does that mean? It results in what's called a zero-click search. What is a zero-click search? It's someone who does a search and then doesn't click anywhere. So they don't go to your website because Google gave them the answer. So not only did you just teach Google everything you wanted to teach them, well, teach the customer, but now Google's gone, oh, we don't need you anymore. And so suddenly, those two first stages, awareness and consideration, well, you don't necessarily get a look in anymore. So, how does it affect you? Well, it means that you now need to start thinking about what you're going to do in the future, right? This is not something you need to panic about. So the next bit is be alert but not alarmed, which when I was growing up, someone shared me that was a sign on a naval ship, be alert but not alarmed. The Air Force needs alerts. Always made me smile and I've forgotten it. I've remembered it ever since. But basically, this is not something you need to panic about, and I'll get Rami to explain to you why that is, because this is something you need to be looking down the next few years as things change, because that's where it's going to start to affect you. To give you some stats, zero-click searches have basically dropped clicks by about 35% across the board, right? So if you're seeing less traffic to your website, this is probably why. Now Google will claim, oh yes, but the people who come to your website are more likely to buy. So you have a higher click-through rate, but blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the actual figures, it doesn't play out when you actually look at it.
All right, so based on that, what piece of information would you say, before I even go further, what information would you say that Joe gave you that is probably the most important to you? I know there's a lot of information.
Not to panic.
Good. You're right, yes?
Don't advertise on Google.
Okay. Scratch. I wouldn't do that, but it's a thought. Sorry? Not one?
Don't provide lots of articles on your website.
Interesting? Not necessarily, but yeah, but do we write lots of articles on anything? Yeah?
Do a negative AI search when I'm wanting to explore. Like in the Google Doc, you can type your request and then go -AI and it won't give you the overview.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's really cool. Did you hear that, everyone?
No.
Oh, I'll repeat it. You can, in the search, what's your name?
Rihanna.
Riyadh?
In the search bar, you just
Can you hear? I'll just repeat it. So in the search bar, right, if you ask a question, you can put -AI, and therefore it won't give you that response. That's cool. Thank you. Great tip. All right. For me, the one that resonates the most, and I can tell you CurePort worked diligently to build, is our reviews. Our Google reviews. Our Google reviews today stand at 2,300, and they're 5-star rating. In fact, the Jewellery Mutual who acquired us doesn't have a 5-star rating. They have 50,000 people. Let's not get into detail about it. America's 350 million people, we're 25 million people, it's all right, right? But our Google reviews, because when people write a good review, they've gone to the effort. AI does give that a lot of credibility, okay? So now we'll move forward. Tell me, what is the difference between a prompt and a query? Anyone want to have a go? Anyone?
This is not a trick question,
It's not.
for the record.
Simon, want to have a go? You don't want to? Put you on the spot. I know, how rude. Yeah, there we go. What's your name?
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
So a prompt is when you instruct it to do something,
I think, and a query is when you ask a question.
Yeah, that's a pretty good. Sylvie said a prompt is when you structure it to do something, and a query is asking a question. I guess the difference is for us when we're talking about the figures that you're about to see is a prompt is when you talk to ChatGPT or when you talk to Perplexity or any of those things. So in other words, every phrase that you enter and hit enter, that is a prompt. And keep in mind that ChatGPT's whole business model, same as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, is about your attention. The more prompts you enter, the more time you spend on the app, the better it is. So it keeps saying, that was a really good idea, you did that really well. Do you want me to do this for you? And you go, yes. Or people typing in, you can imagine how many people have typed in thank you. Anyone else? I have typed in thank you to my ChatGPT, you know. Even me as a programmer, I'm like, what, you're not talking to anyone, Joe, what are you doing? Basically though, every one of those counts as a prompt. Whereas a query, for the purpose, is an informational seeking question, the same thing that would be typed into Google. You don't too many people go typing thanks Google after they've already got their results up. It's not how you work. So that's just to give you an idea when you're looking at the next figures.
Okay, just before we go to the next figures, I have to say to you, I do not use Google anymore to search. Even my queries, I don't use Google. I actually use Perplexity to search. Because I can talk to it, I can form a better question, more specific, and often the prompts that it gives me, suggested, makes me go further. I also pay for Perplexity. I pay for the pro version, cost me about $30 a month, okay? But I find it exceptionally valuable. So we're going to now throw some crazy numbers at you, all right? Because we don't want you to freak out with what everyone's talking about AI. But you have to get a sense of magnitude. So, both.
And for the record, I apologise, I built this presentation and the size of the graphs are not representative, they're just more to give you an idea. You'll kind of understand why. I tried to do it, but the screen's just not big enough. So, in 2023, when ChatGPT had just launched, and this is purely OpenAI's ChatGPT, so they were already getting 13 million prompts every day. This was within 2 months of launching, right? Fast forward to 2024. 1 billion prompts a day, 1,000x in 18 months. You go, okay, wow, that's a lot. July 2025, it's 2.5 billion times. So in 8 months, it jumped another 2.5 times. And you're thinking, 2.5 billion prompts a day. Wow, does Google even have a business left? Because this is just OpenAI. What about all the others? What about Perplexity and Claude? Like, wow, there's not many searches left. When you actually turn that into queries, it's only 37.5 million actual queries. The rest of them were, can you do this? Can I do that? Thank you, please. All those kind of things, they bulk out that. So, only 1.5% of those 2.5 billions are equivocal to a good search on Google. Because keep in mind that we were all trained how to search Google. You go, what are the keywords I want? How do I structure this query so I get it just right, so I'm not having to type in 10 different queries. Now, Google, on the other hand, 14 billion prompts every day, 5 trillion a year. Sorry, queries, tricked myself. And so you can see that that tiny little red spot does not even matter a blip to Google right now. And this is why I say be alert but not alarmed. Even today, with AI as used as it is still a drop in the ocean, 0.5% compared to Google's reviews. Sorry, Google's searches. Now, in a year from now, yep, that red mark is going to be probably a bigger chunk. To give you some idea, from 2023 to 2024, average Google searches went up by 20%. So it's not like Google is shrinking, it is still growing. But all of these other people are slowly going to take up more and more. And in 2 years from now, I don't know, in 5 years from now, Google is adapting. And this is the thing that we all need to be aware of, and you guys need to be aware of, is this is not something you need to drop everything. Oh my goodness, I've got to change everything I'm doing. This is just something like, okay, Joe and Rami said, I need to be aware of this. I need to be thinking about this stuff because all of this is in flux right now. AI overviews are here. AI mode is not out in Australia yet, but it will be. And that's basically bringing a ChatGPT-like search, so Gemini's, Google's Gemini, into search. So it's just like, you'll be just using an AI all the time, whether you want to or not, if you want to search the internet.
So, from what I understand, using LLMs and using this takes up a huge amount of energy resources. So, do you have any thoughts on the ecological impacts of using AI?
Did you hear that? The ecological impacts of using AI.
Yes, I won't use any French, but let's just say that I'm not sure whether Silicon Valley cares.
Do we care?
I think we do care. I personally care. Even as someone who's literal in my life is kind of becoming more and more about AI at the moment. But it is still something both on the ecological impact and the human impact. And it's literally, I'm reading articles every day about how AI is changing our world, in some ways for the better, but in some ways for the worse. And I love to talk about it, so if anyone who wants to grab me afterwards and be like, hey, Joe, when you said this, what do you mean? And what do you think about this? But sadly, this discussion is not about that. But yes, it is something that we should be aware of. And something that we always want to be keeping in the back of our mind, because every time you place a bet, every time you put your money towards something, you're kind of either what Bart talked about, likes, dislikes, so every time you go, oh, I'm going to go with my money this way, and that's one of the reasons that perhaps having our own AI, Matilda, I do not get any kind of a recompense if you end up signing up with them for the record, but that's the kind of reason that maybe it's better to be homegrown, because then we have a little bit more influence around how it does what it does. For the record, a lot of AI infrastructure in the States and across the world, they're trying to use renewable energy, but what they're finding at the moment, their whole theory is, if we just throw lots of money and lots of resources and lots of compute, right, at the problem, then it's going to become super intelligent, change the world, and we'll all make many, many billions and trillions of dollars. That's basically where Silicon Valley is at. So right now, these people are so hungry for power that it's causing some places in America to have not enough power because that giant Elon Musk AI farm over there is chunking all of their power up. So it is something to be aware of.
Right. Separate conference. It's the climate change that Albanese is trying to have with Trump. Maybe not so lucky. How are you going to build trust to your customers tomorrow?
And I guess that comes down to what Nick was talking about, what Bart was talking about, and that comes down to you identifying your core belief, your core identity as a business. And so some of the points I could give you that they're talking about these days, like when I get on the SEO forums, they're talking about GEO, which is generative, engine optimization, is basically the idea that your social media, podcasts, all these other places that you can be that AI is not able to kind of duplicate and replicate. That personal touch, that's what it can't do. So these are ways that you're able to build trust with customers. For me, even though I'm in this space, in marketing, and so I don't follow many people on Instagram, I'm like, every time I like something, it's a like or a dislike. I don't want to be known by these algorithms. And yet, I'm flicking through, I see someone, and then I see them again, and then they're talking about something I'm actually interested in. I'm like, well, they actually had a good opinion on it. Next time they come up in my feed, I stop and I actually watch their video. And then 5 or 6 times later, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. If I'm ever in the market for a tennis racket, I'm going to go and see what he thinks I should recommend, because he probably knows what he's talking about. As yet, I haven't bought a tennis racket. But it even works on me because I think that I know this person. And exactly what Bart was actually, what Adrian was saying when he was saying, put your face, put someone's face, not an AI face. Despite the fact that my thing is AI, don't put an AI face, talk to your customers, because suddenly when they see you several times in their feed, when they then see you in a store, or they get to talk to you on the phone, they're like, hey, that's the voice I heard on my Instagram. It's a connection. And we want to lean into human connection more than ever, I feel, these days.
Can I just say, I see Nicole's Instagram Live, and she does it really, really well. Okay, so, all right, let's move on. Okay, what is agentic AI? Drum roll. Seriously. So, LLM, large language model, right? It understands conversation. Agentic AI is the next big jump. What it does is it understands what you're saying, but it can build processes for you, right? So you prompt, and then you learn more and more prompts. Does anyone watch YouTube to learn how to create prompts? No, I do. You do too, right? And Joe writes prompts. So now Joe's going to give you one example, but a really good example in my eyes, that I wanted to create something that you could literally take home.
Yeah. Okay, so agentic AI is the big catchphrase of 2025, end of 2024. It is basically where AI suddenly does things for you, instead of it being like an advisor. So you started a jewellery business, and your dad gave you that jewellery business, or you have a friend who is in jewellery, and what do? Every time that you need some advice, you get on the phone and you say, hey, I've got this problem. That's kind of like an LLM. That's kind of like a chatbot. It's there to give you advice, but the only way you access that is by asking a question and get responses. Agentic AI, on the other hand, is kind of like having your own little apprentice. So with this, you basically can train it up to do certain things, and it then takes on those tasks for you automatically. So, for example, in the old days, everyone remembers going on holidays and putting like an email autoresponder. You know, who else would do that back in the day, right? So that, people would be like, I'm on holiday, I'll be back on this date, enjoy your time at work, losers. But at the end of the day, with agentic AI, what if you were to design an AI, to put an agent in place that looked at your emails to do the same kind of thing, it could actually read the email, understand the context of the entire email chain. No, this is someone that you were talking to for the last 3 weeks, and this is a customer that you were waiting to get in touch with. They've just got back from their holiday. They want a response, and it could actually respond. Using your tone, your voice, I would recommend that you maybe put something in it that says this was generated by AI, just in case. There's a little bit of a caveat. But at the end of the day, it can respond. Or it could then know, oh, I need to actually forward this to you via text message so that you're on holiday and you're being really good and you're not looking at your emails whilst you're away. But suddenly you get a text message going, oh, I actually need to look at this, right? That's the kind of difference. So the apprentice example is good because you can imagine that you could train an apprentice to welcome someone into the store, talk to them. But suddenly when that person wants a discount on that $10,000 ring, they're not authorised to give that discount. At that point, they hand it over to you. And so you can train them up to do this. You can train them up to, okay, well, now we'll teach you to do this. We'll teach you to open the store, to lock the store up at night. That's basically the best way I can explain. Agentic AI does stuff for you, whereas an LLM is just something that gives you advice and you communicate with. So everyone probably has lots of things that they could do with agentic AI. I was talking to Dave from Luster, and I was saying to him, so, how do you actually find customers, for example? And I was saying to him, and he said, we talk to jewellers. Are they interested in getting emeralds? Because that's what we want to provide them with emeralds. And I was like, you could use agentic AI that you could just go, talking to this jeweller, and he could go off to their website, see do they actually sell diamonds? Do they sell emeralds? What kind of emeralds do they sell? What are their price points for their jewellery? So you can imagine that it can do a lot of, let's call them menial tasks. It can do much more advanced things as well if you take the time to really train it to do it.
I'm just going to give you an example I used last week. So I was in LA last week at a conference called Converge. That is 1,000 people attended the conference. It's an education thing put by GIA. I was told that there's 50 people there that I should contemplate meeting. How do you meet 50 people in 4 days? It's not going to happen. I mean, I can talk fast, but that's too fast, right? So, and how do I even know who to talk? Like, I see names. People said, they were throwing me names. Like, I have no idea. So what did I do? Spoke to Joe. I said, Joe, give me a hand. He goes, done. Took the 50 names, wrote an agentic prompt, right? Gave me everyone's photo, the 50 people's photo, gave me a description of what everybody does, even looked and told me things like some of the latest things that they've achieved. And then it did something really cool because it looked at their profile and then told me how they like to be seen to the public, how they want to be viewed. So I was able to read 50 of which I picked 20, of which I meant 10, right? And I could walk up and say, by the way, congratulations on that award you won last week. Yes. Right? That was agentic. That's pretty cool. Imagine being able to get that information. How long did that take?
It took me probably about an hour to do it, and then I had to then plug that into a Word document.
Just
turn it
into an
a
hour.
PDF.
Let's not get, it's a story, let's not get in way of detail, okay?
Alright, so
All right.
now I just want to cover off some very cool tools because I know that we are definitely over time.
Are
So
we?
I'm gonna
Sorry.
ramp through this. So video generation. Oh, we can't hear it, sadly. It does have an Australian accent. It's basically going, so this is completely generated with AI by me. It took about 5 minutes.
All the answers.
Oh, hang
Just
on.
run it again.
Okay.
How long did it take?
Oh, 5 minutes?
When it comes to getting on the tools, I know my stuff. But picking the right engagement ring,
Lucky for me, Rami had all the answers.
See, AI does hallucinate.
And I just have to tell you, it was a bit embarrassing because I showed that to my wife last night. Do you know what she said? She's good looking.
So this is the power of AI. All right, so some cool things AI can do for you. User-generated content, okay? One of the cool things is, so this is the gold chain, and I was like, I put in a prompt, I'm like, I want this on a blah, 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 this age girl, this kind of skin tone, this kind of look, do this, blah, blah, and boom, there is the chain. So no longer do you necessarily have to get actual photos from people or take photos yourself. This works with some kinds of jewellery better than others. Diamonds, notoriously tricky. Getting that ring to look natural on a hand with 6 fingers, not going to work, but it's a good idea. Okay, so here's another kind of your product staging. So one of my clients was like, we have all these CAD renders of all of our products and we don't hold it all in stock. So it's literally impossible for us to take photos. But we have certain company colours. We'd love to be able to use those colours instead of just having everything on white, for an Instagram or something. So I'm like, okay. So I built a little chat widget that meant you could upload a photo, pick a colour, and so that you're not trying to prompt. The problem is I want to get away from trying to, what's the best prompt to use that does it all for you. And then you pick a surface. Now in this case, I then picked, rough stone, and it came up with this. On these screens you probably can't see it, it's nice textured rough stone. But I was like, yeah, I don't know if I like that. So I want the background on an angle with the pendant floating in the air and put it on a smooth marble-like high reflective surface. And it came up with this. Now, I don't know about you, but for Instagram post, that's not bad. And as a graphic designer, had I got that original photo, it would have taken me hours to try to create a 3D render and then spin it just so and put it on the marble. It's a lot of work. What else can AI do for you? It can do scene analysis. So working on that GPT, I was like, hey, I want to do an Instagram, a theme for our summer campaign. I was like, often you want to take the how a photo is taken. So I went with one of Australia's well-known retailers. I grabbed a shot off their Instagram and I told ChatGPT, how did they do this? What kind of a camera did it use? So it analyzes that, right? Gives me all that. Then I upload a photo of a ring and I said, give me that photo but with that inspiration behind it. And boom.
Yes.
Is this Mid-Journey?
No, this is ChatGPT, which uses the DALL-E image engine behind it. Just Mid-Journey is a different image generation engine. And I could then turn around to that and say, you all being jewellers, I'm not a jeweller, would probably go, well, that gold's a bit too yellow, can you tone it down a little for me? And it would then do that for you, right? This is just another example, different ring, different inspiration photo. You can kind of see. Now, at the end of this, there's actually going to be a QR code. And if you want access to this tool, which literally in 5 minutes can take a photo and spit out a new photo for you to use on your Instagram, then click the link. You'll be able to tick thing, I can send you an email with a link so that you can have a play around with it, because I'd love your feedback. Because although I'm not about replacing humans, I also understand that a Friday night when you're trying to launch that new Instagram campaign and you can't get in touch with your photographer and you can't do this and you can't do that, and you've only got CAD renders and all the many reasons that your lives are compressed in so many tiny little ways, this could be a time-saving feature, so I'd love to get feedback on it.
Okay, so I've been speaking to Joe about this for now a long time, all right? He's the techie, and I realized that there was a need for jewelers, especially some of you know I travel all over Australia, in fact I travel all over the world, talking to small to medium businesses, right? And it's these sorts of tools, because you are all time poor, that is the problem. Time poor. How do you get to all these things? So, Joe has actually created a course for AI for jewelers. Full stop. Okay? Now, it's called AI Zero to Hero, and there's the jewelry shoot thing. You'll see in a second the QR code, scan it, you'll get used for the tool. If you're interested in Zero to Hero, you can reach out to him as well, and he's doing something. Ideally, if you have a group of people, 6 people or so, it's not just a video thing, he's going to be actually talking, you can ask questions and that sort of stuff. So we just thought we'd bring it up here at this conference. I'm going to finish with a quote. Laura, I apologize for the time. The quote is this, and I read it this morning, by the way. The quote is, AI is like electricity. And if you don't use it, you're going to be in the dark. Okay? You don't have to like it. I don't care. You don't care. What you do with it is your choice. It is too powerful not to incorporate it and stay ahead. Everyone who's here, you're already 50% above almost everybody else because you came here to be educated. I can't emphasize enough the importance of being educated. I commend Laura for doing this sort of conference, right? Because you're hungry for knowledge. Everyone else saying, oh, I can't afford a day at work. BS. One day, if you take 2, 3 things out of this, how much are you saving yourself in time? And the stuff that Barb was saying to you, so good, okay? And the other guys, so good, right? Hopefully you grabbed a few things out of this as well. The numbers were, don't be scared, but be alert, be aware, and just keep going out there and being hungry. You'll notice I even put my mobile number in there, right? And Joe's. Why? Everyone has questions. Some people don't particularly, want to be called out at a conference and things like that. So you know what? I love what Laura's doing. I love what this is all about. People have questions, reach out, give us a call, feel free. Thank you.